Is Israel on the brink of war with Hezbollah? There are signs and sounds of impending all-out war in the north. More than 8 months of cross-border exchanges between the IDF and Hezbollah have reached a critical junction. The IDF says its war plans are ready when ordered. ILTV's editor-in-chief Maayan Hoffman is standing by at the northern border.
Thank you, Lidar. The sounds and signs of the war are upon us. As I traveled this morning across the western and upper Galilee, there is a tangible tension. The residents say they are expecting an all-out war, an escalation which they believe could involve 2 or 3 weeks of intensive rocket fire. Here I am at Galilee Medical Center, where the entire hospital has had to go underground. The streets, in general, are eerily quiet. Defense Minister Gallant is heading to the United States to discuss the next steps of the war, which reportedly the United States will support if necessary. An analyst from Alma Research Center told me this morning that she does not believe that Israel wants a war. However, Iran orchestrated October 7th with the goal of creating a war of attrition that could eventually bring the collapse of the State of Israel.
Right, thank you, Maayan, and we'll get back to you in a moment. But for now, let's take a look at the report you've prepared.
More than 8 months of cross-border exchanges between the IDF and Hezbollah have reached a critical junction.
Hear all the sounds of war around us. You know, if it's the blasts and the heat, if it's the interceptions, if it's Air Force activity.
The U.S. reportedly reassured Israel it will offer full support in the event of a full-scale war with Hezbollah breaking out in Lebanon. CNN quotes a senior Biden administration official as saying the pledge of support was made during meetings in Washington between National Security Advisor Tzachi Hanegbi, Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, U.S. National Security Advisor Jack Sullivan, and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. Defense Minister Gallant is en route to Washington for crucial talks on the war in Gaza and the potential of an all-out war in Lebanon.
הפגישות האלה אדון על הקורא בחזית עזה, בחזית לבנון, ויש להן חשיבות מכרעת בעת הזאת. אנחנו ערוכים לכל פעולה שתידרש, גם בעזה, גם בלבנון וגם במקומות נוספים.
The Biden administration told Israel the needed security assistance will be provided, but no American troops would be deployed. The reassurances come amid a public spat between Jerusalem and Washington, following a video statement from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in which the premier blasted what he said were inconceivable bottlenecks that the Biden administration had placed in the transfer of weapons and munitions to Israel.
אני מעריך מאוד את התמיכה של הנשיא ביידן והממשל האמריקני בישראל. מאז תחילת המלחמה, ארצות הברית נתנה לנו תמיכה חשובה מאוד ברוח ובחומר, באמצעי ההגנה ובאמצעי ההתקפה. אבל לפני כ4 חודשים חלה ירידה דרמטית באספקת החימושים שהגיעו מארצות הברית לישראל. במשך שבועות ארוכים פנינו לידידינו האמריקנים בבקשה להאיץ את המשלוחים. עשינו זאת פעם אחר פעם. עשינו זאת בדרגים הגבוהים ובכל הדרגים, ואני רוצה להדגיש, עשינו זאת בחדרי חדרים. קיבלנו כל מיני הסברים, אבל דבר אחד לא קיבלנו. המצב הבסיסי לא השתנה. פריטים מסוימים הגיעו בטפטוף, אבל המסה הגדולה של החימושים נשארה מאחור.
Meanwhile, deadly exchanges between Israel and Hezbollah are continuing. Over the weekend, a prominent Hamas and al-Jamaa al-Islamiyah operative was killed in an airstrike in Lebanon's western Bekaa district. According to the IDF, Ayman Gatma was responsible for supplying weapons to Hamas and al-Jamaa al-Islamiyah in Lebanon. Gatma was targeted and killed while driving near the town of Khiara, some 40 kilometers from the Israeli border. In addition, 2 tank anti-guided missiles launched by Hezbollah from Lebanon struck the northern border community of Manara. According to the IDF, the missiles hit open areas in the kibbutz, including one in the plantations area. There were no injuries.
Maayan, back to you. Thank you for the report. And where are you now from speaking to residents, soldiers, mayors in the north? What is your sense of the situation? What is the general feeling? I mean, is war in the north imminent?
So, Lidar, I'm actually at Moshav Daltan. I'm here with Hashomer Chadash that are working to farm and preserve the land. These are the vineyards where they are, and they're out here in the fields despite the threat of rockets. Just about an hour ago, there was an interception right above their heads.
You know, I'm being very careful here, but are you seeing any preparations being made that would indicate something big could be coming?
So I have not been around the IDF yet today, but what I am understanding is that there is an understanding, or there is a feeling by the residents that something is cooking. There's a change on the ground, a palatable tension, and from what I am understanding from sources in the security establishment, the soldiers are getting ready to take action if necessary.
And Mayan, do you get the feeling of greater concern or maybe relief from some that the IDF will finally operate to remove Hezbollah from the northern front with a plan for Israeli residents to be out of danger and finally be able to return home?
So it's a mixed bag. You know, the truth of the matter is that Israel and no residents want to have a war. We want our hostages home and we want peace. On the other hand, similar to what we understand in southern Israel and with Hamas, we need to eradicate the threat of terrorism and extremism on our borders. And many of the residents here, after 16, 18 years of rockets here and there, but largely quiet, the situation has become untenable. And the idea that we know that at least a decade ago, Hezbollah had a similar plan to Hamas to infiltrate Israel, to kidnap our citizens, and to murder. They did not succeed with that plan a decade ago, and now Hamas on October 7th had carried out such an attack. The feeling by the residents is we must make sure that if we sign a ceasefire deal, it does not seem like we will, but if we do sign a ceasefire deal, and that does bring a temporary quiet on the north, that we take the needed action to ensure that on October 7th does not happen up here like it did down south.
Thank you, Mayan, for the report. Let's hope for quieter days in the north. And moving now to the Gaza front on day 261 of the war. Over the weekend, Israeli fighter jets and other aircraft struck numerous targets across the Gaza Strip, including weapons depots and cells of terror operatives. ILTV's Steve Leibovitz has more.
At least 2 massive Israeli airstrikes shook Gaza City over the weekend, sending rescue workers rushing to the scenes amid destruction and unconfirmed reports of high casualties. Many details remain unclear, but the IDF said its fighter jets had targeted Hamas military infrastructure at 2 sites in the area of Gaza City without elaborating. Unverified Hebrew language media reports, citing reports in Gaza, claim that the target of the IDF strikes in Gaza City was senior Hamas commander Raad Saad. Saad is reportedly the chief of Hamas operations. His fate is uncertain. He was thought to have been at Gaza City's Shifa hospital when the IDF raided the medical center in March, but he was not found there at the time. In separate incidents, the IDF said it carried out a drone strike against the cell that had fired an anti-aircraft missile at an IDF attack helicopter operating over Gaza. In northern Gaza, 2 Hamas operatives were killed in a separate drone strike. In the Netzarim corridor in the Gaza Strip center, the IDF said airstrikes were carried out against several gunmen spotted by troops of the Alexandroni Brigade. In southern Gaza's Rafah, the army said troops killed several gunmen in close-quarter combat, sniper fire, and by calling in airstrike. Several more days and weeks of ground operations are expected to continue in Rafah until remaining Hamas forces are neutralized.
Over the weekend, there was a deadly terror attack in Judea and Samaria. A 67-year-old Israeli man was murdered in his car by terrorists after buying vegetables from a store in the Palestinian city of Kalkilya. More from ILTV's Steve Leibovitz.
The victim of the terror attack in Kalkilya is a resident of the nearby Petach Tikva. He was identified as Amnon Mukhtar, who had apparently driven to Kalkilya to buy fruit and vegetables. He was shot dead and his car was torched after the shooting. After Mukhtar was shot, Palestinian Red Crescent medics transferred him to an Israeli ambulance for treatment in critical condition, but he died of his wounds. Israeli security forces entered the area and examined the scene of the attack for evidence. Israeli civilians are banned from entering Kalkilya and other places in Judea and Samaria in Category A, under the security control of the Palestinian Authority. Despite the ban, some Israelis entered PA cities where prices for goods and services are significantly cheaper than in Israel. The terrorist murder comes a day after police said that 2 wanted Palestinian members of the Islamic Jihad terror group were killed by officers in a raid on Kalkilya. One of the wanted Islamic Jihad members was planning to carry out an attack in the area. Since the start of the Gaza war on October 7th, 20 Israelis, including security personnel, have been killed in Palestinian terror attacks in Israel and Judea and Samaria. In the same period, troops have arrested some 4,000 wanted Palestinians across Judea and Samaria, including more than 1,700 affiliated with Hamas. According to the Palestinian Authority, more than 540 Palestinians have been killed in that time.
And Israel may be on the brink of an all-out war with Hezbollah in the north as it is continuing its operation in Gaza against Hamas. Is a multi-front war imminent? Joining us now to discuss the security situation on day 261 of the war is Brigadier General in the Reserves Emil Avivi, founder and CEO of the Israel Defense and Security Forum. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
So we're seeing attacks against Israel from multiple fronts, the north, Gaza, even from Judea and Samaria or the West Bank. Let's start with the north, major escalations there. Is war with Hezbollah truly imminent?
I'm afraid so. I think it's imminent due to lack of American leadership, due to lack of willingness of posing a credible military threat on Iran or Hezbollah, and bring together the international community to really force Hezbollah, according to Resolution 1701, to withdraw from South Lebanon. Nothing of this sort is happening, and therefore Israel really has no choice but to go to war, to push Hezbollah militarily out of South Lebanon, and to really inflict huge damage to all the capabilities of Hezbollah all over Lebanon. This is what is required to create the terms to bring back home all the 80,000 citizens to a place which will be safe and where they will be able to be secure and also prosperous.
Israel has said multiple times that it doesn't want a second front. It seems Hezbollah doesn't truly either. Is there still time to maybe reach a diplomatic solution?
Well, I think the chances are low. We have to understand that. And also the big question is, what does Iran and Hezbollah really want? Do they want a resolution? Or they actually think from a religious stance that this is the moment to destroy Israel, that really all the atmosphere and the situation is in favor of them? I'm not sure they want a resolution. I think they are really looking for a war. And the big danger is that they will initiate the attack. We might find ourselves in another 7th of October. This is not an option for Israel. We need to be proactive.
And is Israel prepared for a multi-front war?
Well, I think that we cannot be more prepared. We have been attacking Hezbollah 8 months, really destroying many of their capabilities, especially in South Lebanon. And we have really killed many of their leaders in South Lebanon. So I think that these are the best terms we'll get. We have to remember that if we postpone this, Iran will send hundreds of thousands of militias from Iraq, from Syria, from Afghanistan, from other places to Lebanon, and maybe in the future this is going to be much more difficult. So anybody who says, we need more time, we want more munitions, okay, but also the other side will have more time. And who knows what we'll encounter in a year or two.
Absolutely. And turning from the north to Gaza as well, what progress is being made on this front? The IDF has said that it could have full control of Rafah in 2 weeks' time. What then? I mean, what's next after control of Rafah?
So once we really finish destroying the military capability of Hamas, we still have many terrorists scattered all over Gaza. We need to put a certain amount of forces, let's say a division with 2 or 3 brigades that will continue degrading the capabilities of Hamas in the long term. It will take us years to deal with this. And we have to take most of our forces north and deal with the bigger problem we have, and this is Hezbollah.
And there's been a very public spat between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. President Joe Biden over arms, over the Rafah and Gaza, and now, of course, with Hezbollah. What is your assessment of this? Gallant, of course, on his way to the United States to try and ease tensions and secure American support. So, what is your assessment of this situation? And can Israel go it alone against Hezbollah?
Well, I think it's obvious that it's crucial that the U.S. will send us everything we need to sustain such a big war. This is an existential war for Israel, and therefore it's inconceivable that the administration will withhold capabilities from Israel. And I think that this is the message the Prime Minister conveys. So on one hand, we have to say clearly that this is something that we cannot accept. On the other hand, of course, we need the help and we need good relations with the administration. And I think that they understand that we are on the verge of a huge war, and they have stated they are going to help Israel with everything Israel needs to win a war against Hezbollah.
And, I also want to turn to Judea and Samaria. There's also the security threat there from within Israel. How big of a security challenge is this front for Israel?
Well, for the last 8 months, we have apprehended thousands of terrorists. The IDF is operating daily in all cities in Judea and Samaria. So I think this area is overall under control. Now, I think it's crucial in this sense that Israel will be proactive. When our enemies see a resolute country, when we are strong and united, they are deterred and they are afraid to challenge us. But if they see us hesitating, if we are not going all the way to destroy Hezbollah, then they might feel also like Iran that we are weak, and they might really attack us fiercely also from Judea and Samaria. So really, we have no choice. We have to win decisively in Gaza. We have to win decisively in Lebanon, and this is what will create the terms to really secure Israel, looking in the long term.
All right, Amil Avivi, thank you so much for your analysis today.
Thank you very much.
And Armenia announced over the weekend it is recognizing a Palestinian state. Armenia follows Spain, Ireland, Norway, and Slovenia in recognizing a Palestinian state after October 7th and brings the total number of countries who have already done so to 145. In its announcement, the Armenian Foreign Ministry said it is interested in establishing peace and stability in the Middle East and reiterated its commitment to a two-state solution. Following the recognition, the Foreign Ministry summoned Armenia's ambassador to Israel for a severe reprimand. Israel has said recognizing a Palestinian state now is a reward for Hamas and its October 7th massacre and sends a clear message that terrorism pays. Yet the announcement did not come as a surprise to Jerusalem. Israel and Armenia have full diplomatic relations, but those relations have been very tense for the past several years, mainly due to Israel's close relationship with Azerbaijan, which is in conflict with Armenia. And of course, Hamas welcomed the decision. Indeed, a reward for terrorism. And over 8 months of the war in Gaza and 116 hostages are still being held by Hamas, many already presumed dead. Negotiations for a hostage for ceasefire deal seem to have largely stalled, with Hamas refusing to accept the U.S. and Israeli proposal. Meanwhile, one of the female hostages, Naama Levy, turned 20 years old on Saturday, as her family and Israelis gathered to mark the occasion and demand her release. Let's take a look. Hundreds of Israelis gathered at Tel Aviv's Hostages Square on Saturday to mark the 20th birthday of Naama Levy, one of the hostages being held captive by Hamas for over 8 months.
Hamas celebrated her 20 years old anniversary today. And this is not the time, 20 years old, that you need to be in this place at Gaza. She needs to be here with the family, with her friends. She's 20 years old. She's a sweet girl. And 20 years old, it's just starting the new life, become adults.
Naama was taken hostage on October 7th from an IDF base in Nahal Oz and has since become a symbol for the female hostages after Hamas released video of her, hands tied behind her back, being forcefully led into a vehicle and with a large bloodstain on her pants, sparking widespread international concern of sexual assault.
I just really hope that she has this smile on her face from time to time in captivity. I have so many thoughts about what she might be going through.
At only 20 years old, Naama was a peace activist. Her brother wonders if she still holds on to the hope of peace after so many days in captivity.
Me and my family, the past week or two have been, I think, maybe the toughest in this whole period of time, because after there was a talk about the deal that Biden presented, now it seems like there is nothing going on, and Hamas rejected the deal, and the talks aren't going through, and these are the most devastating times for us, because we feel like she is getting away from us, and again, we know that Naama can be saved. We can save her life. That's why we wake up every morning. That's where we find strength and optimism.
Indeed, negotiations for the release of Naama and the other 116 hostages have largely stalled. Hamas has so far refused to accept a three-phase proposal presented by the U.S. President Joe Biden this past month. On Friday, Qatari's prime minister said that progress was being made to some extent, but fell short of expressing optimism for a deal.
Maybe we would be lucky enough to give her some strength on her birthday, and I really imagine her getting emotional and getting strength from all the family and friends and so many people that don't even know her that are coming to mention her birthday and send her strength and call for her immediate return.
And now, despite the security situation and as summer arrives, Israelis love nothing more than to take a respite at the beach. Unfortunately, so do the jellyfish. And with an extra hot summer this year, the annual arrival of the jellyfish has come early and in large numbers. ILTV's Ariela Lachiani was at the beach with more.
Hi Lidar, so I'm here now on the beach in Tel Aviv, and while we are seeing a war in the south and possibly even one in the north, one thing for sure, jellyfish are not scared of the wars. We have seen a big wave of jellyfish across the beaches in Israel. We see it every summer, but this year even earlier than usual, as we are currently facing the hottest June recorded in a very long time. As you're walking down the beach, you can see jellyfish washed up. People swimming in the ocean are coming out complaining of being stung. They've been spotted predominantly in Haifa, but I'm here in Tel Aviv. I can see them everywhere. And the Israel Authority estimate that we're about to see the biggest influx of jellyfish that we've seen in a long, long time. Back to Lidar.
Let's take a look at the weather forecast. Partly cloudy skies are expected tonight around the country, with temperatures reaching lows of around 23 degrees Celsius or 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Then tomorrow, mostly sunny skies and warm temperatures are expected, as we should be seeing highs of about 34 degrees Celsius or 94 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's all for today's news. For more updates from Israel on all your devices, check out our ILTV channel, subscribe to our ILTV newsletter, and don't forget to check out our website, iltv.tv, with all the latest news from the heart of the State of Israel. I'm Lidar Gavelazi. Be well, stay safe, and thank you so much for watching.